Hey guys, it's me, Sarah. This is my second vlog post, and today we're going to attempt to take a look at a leaky faucet in our upstairs tub. Sounds simple enough, but to me, drippy faucets look simple. They're hard to do, they take all day, and you don't really get spectacular results, but my wife keeps mentioning it, and I think she's on her third nice mention. So I probably should take a look soon. Yesterday when I told her that I fixed the garbage disposal, she said, "Okay, that sounds great. Did you fix the drippy faucet too?" So we're going to work on that today. It's already noon, so I might be running out of time for today, but it's worth taking a look. This morning I just thought I'd fill you in on what I have been keeping busy with, which is obviously cooking breakfast for everybody and then getting everyone off to school. I took our new to me van to get checked out by the mechanic and to get the oil changed. A couple years ago I had learned to change the oil in our cars, thanks to my ex-husband-in-law was willing to teach me that, and I thought I could save a bunch of money, but turns out I'm not really saving that much money, and if I bring it to a place like Grease Monkey, they take a look at a bunch of things for me, so I figure it's definitely worth the price by doing that. I went to the bank and the post office, and in a little bit here I'll have to quick whip up some dinner. My ex-husband-in-law's coming to dinner tonight with his girlfriend and her daughter and his other daughter, so we'll have a house full, and I'm gonna make chicken rice soup with stuff from our garden that I grew. So anyway, I'm gonna take a look at the bathroom here, and it's in the boys' bathroom, which is always kind of a disaster because we have 4 boys that use it, and so I try to keep it kind of clean, and I'm trying to get them to clean it. That's a really lifelong type of challenge, and so I also just want to apologize to my future daughters-in-law that while they do have 2 moms, we really are trying, and it might not be the results that you guys were hoping for, and I apologize for that ahead of time, but it is what it is, and you're just going to have to whip them into shape when you get them. So anyway, this is the boys' bathroom. Now last week, you can see the drippy faucet. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we kind of had a big hubbub with this one. This is upstairs, and as you can see, here's the overflow drain. Well, our 7-year-old went to take a bath the other day, and he let it fill up, which is fine. He kind of forgot about it, but luckily our 11-year-old daughter is on top of these things while we were off doing other things, and she stopped it before it overflowed into the bathroom. No worries, but for some reason, when the water would hit our overflow drain, which thankfully it didn't do very much at all, we'd start getting a few drips coming out of our basement ceiling. Luckily, this tub is super deep, and so that rarely happens. And so it started dripping, and I was outside with my wife helping her, and our daughter comes out, and she's like, "Hey, there's some water on the floor downstairs." And I was like, "Just go put a towel down. I don't know what it is." And she had been the one too to come out and say, like, "Hey, our 7-year-old kind of filled up the tub. It didn't overflow because I stopped it." And at this point, I'm kind of ready to hand over the mothering to her anyway. So she comes in and says there's a little bit of water on the floor. I wasn't thinking anything of it at the time, but we had this happen one other time. Poor girl comes out a few minutes later and is like, so it looks like maybe there's water dripping out of the ceiling. And I was like, okay, that's happened before. We just had a few drops. I don't really know how to stop it. And I bet you it's because the overflow drain is draining into the ceiling, of course, because that happens, right? So she goes back in and she comes out. She's like, there's just like a lot of water. And I was like, just put a towel down. Just whatever. I'm trying to finish this project. So she goes back in. A few minutes later, she comes out. She's like, there looks like there's just a lot of water coming out of the ceiling. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna go check it out. Well, I go downstairs, and this piece of drywall is just bulging with water. And like, there's not much you can do at this point. The water's got to drain out of the tub. So I went to poke a hole in the drywall to hopefully relieve the pressure. And of course, as I poke the hole and water starts pouring out, the whole piece of drywall just comes crashing down, all soggy, water everywhere. We live in a really old house, and the wall next to the drywall and the tub plumbing is an exterior wall, and the foundation's just like sand. So all this dirt came down, and that would have been a great vlog to do. I hadn't thought of the idea at the time. Anyway, so I cleaned that up. The poor girl had like 4 towels on the floor by this point. Anyway, I soon figured out the problem with the plumbing was that the drain pipe coming down into the regular drain for the tub wasn't even connected. It was just like loosely hanging there, as if someone was like, well, water just flows straight down and we don't have to really connect these pipes because it'll just go right down. And luckily that rarely happened. But what also had been happening over the course of years, because some of the sub ceiling was rotted out, that every time we drained this tub, I'm sure the drain water would reach equilibrium, back up the pipe, and slowly leak down into the floor and ceiling. So I got to fix that, and I was pretty proud of myself for figuring that out and doing some plumbing in a very awkward position up above my head in between the rafters, and soon realized why the guy before me kind of did a crappy job, because it just kind of sucked to do. So anyway, fixed the plumbing there, but I did decide to hire out the drywalling for that piece of ceiling because it was a complicated cut and lots of edges and angles, and sometimes you just have to know your limits, and drywall is not my forte. I have done it. Nothing that requires any type of precision is actually my forte. I have to stick with projects that are good enough for the girl I go with, kind of thing. So anyway, back to this dripping tub. It looks like, I don't even know where to start, actually. I assume it's kind of coming from the faucet here, and there's probably a gasket that's not tightening, maybe, when you turn it, and so I have to figure out how to get that handle off. So luckily, YouTube videos just like mine are going to teach me how to do that, and maybe it won't be that big of a deal. My hesitation is always starting to take things apart, because again, it's always a bigger project than you think it is, especially when you really don't know where to start. And then I think the biggest difference between me and, I hate to say it, some guys, is that I can't just do the plumbing here. I have to stop and then make dinner and get kids off to school and back from school and have company, and then do a few loads of laundry and feed the dog, and then take the dog for a run and do all that kind of stuff. So this gets a little tricky sometimes. So I'm going to pause my video and do some research and come back with a head full of knowledge. Okay. I kind of decided not to Google this because I figure how hard can it be, right? I'm just going to take some screwdrivers that we have and see how to take this bad boy apart. I mean, there's only 2 screws, so I would start there and see if I can remove the rest of it. I don't know, I probably need to shut off the water or something, which sounds daunting. So I'm just going to take this screw out. I don't know, I figure how hard can it be, right? I have no idea how to get this handle off. And I assume these screws are just for this plate, but whatever, we'll see. One. Of course, while I'm doing this, I noticed that it's not dripping right now when I actually turned off the faucet. So that could help. If you just simply crank this over a little bit, it stops dripping. So I might have already solved the problem. Yeah, pretty much. So here's a little pro tip. If this isn't turned all the way off, it seems to drip. I don't know. Yeah. How do you get that knob off? I am going to have to Google this because now I just want to see if there's a way for me to still take a look at the gasket thingy that's in there that might be just starting to go. Because obviously taking these screws off would just loosen that plate. Duh, which I kind of assume, but there's also just got to be a simple way to get this off. So stand by. So I did quick look up how to start looking into this, although as you can see the dripping stopped, and so it's most likely a matter of just tightening this down a little bit, but then I can't really say I fixed it, so I might still try to fix it and say that I did. So I did Google just the first steps, and it's fun how clever these things are, but I thought I would first talk a little bit more about my show and where it's headed. If you haven't caught on by now that you probably don't need to watch this do-it-yourself type show to actually learn how to fix stuff. It's probably wise because it'll be like one of those recipe blogs that you look up, like, hey, you see a recipe, you click on it, and then you have to read through their whole life story before you can get to the recipe. So if you're looking for a quick how-to video to fix a faucet, this is not the video for you. That being said, I do feel like I have to be super honest with you guys, and I did just take another little nap. To be fair to myself, though, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 16 long years with 5 children, 4 of which are boys, and I have not slept well for 16 years. Okay, take that back. The last year or two, we've been sleeping through the night pretty regularly, but I'm just still catching up, to be honest, and so I'm just going to throw that out there, and I did just make myself another latte. I'm hoping that this is not a bad idea, because yesterday when I made my garbage disposal video, I had a latte later in the day, and I didn't really sleep, which might be why I needed a nap today. So, Anyway, it's a little earlier in the day now, but I'm going to do this and hope it's not a mistake. But mostly I'm just really procrastinating doing a project like this because I don't know, it's just not very exciting to me. And it should be because my wife keeps saying, well, I thought you were an environmentalist and we're wasting hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, which kind of sounds like a number my dad would come up with. But she's right, even though I just fixed it by actually turning the handle off. And then before we get started, the last thing is that I just got a question from a fan, okay, my mom, and she was asking that if she owns a flannel shirt, does that just automatically make you a lesbian? Obviously no, but if you have to ask the question, am I A, you may be, and B, I think that everyone can be gay for someone out there. So if those are the questions that are going through your head, think about that. But I'm happy to help you out any other way to kind of sort your life out if that's what's going on with you. So this type of faucet is like the knob one, and I guess you pry this little cover off to get to the handle. And honestly, the other problem is I'm guessing I should really turn off the water supply before I start messing with this. But all of our water supplies, I have to turn off the whole house to access that, because I think for this tub it's pretty sealed in and painted over, and that's a big pain in the ass too. Which is also why I've put off this type of project. Worst case, I guess we could always just like start to use a bucket and then use that bucket to water flowers, which is what I do outside when the sprinkler leaks. So, but let's just go ahead and use a good kitchen knife to try to pry this off, which again looks fairly daunting. And oh, look at that. And my dad is probably going to be watching this and saying, like, Sarah, you just have to call me. This is simple. Just call me and I'll walk you through it, which the man literally could walk me through anything, even stuff he's never done before. But in projects like these, that seems like a simple cheater's way to do things. So I'm going to just bumble my way through this because we'll have to save his calls for harder projects. Nailed it. Did it. Popped off. Sure enough, I'm going to show the viewers in the very poor lighting. There's a little screw right in the middle there. And I'm going to take that off and hope I don't have a big plumbing mess. Comes off super easy. Did it. This is just blowing my mind how easy this is getting, and that I've been putting this off for years. So a little insight too, I realized that the projects, whether it's repair or cleaning or getting around to something, there's two reasons I procrastinate. One is just it's a really boring project, and two is I really don't know how I'm going to do it, so I just put it off because it seems daunting. So that's a little hint for my wife when she's watching as to maybe why I put things off. So then there's this little plastic piece that has a gear and little numbers so you can tell how to set it. Looks good. And I'm guessing the seat's in there, but everything looks, there's a little gasket there. That looks good. And usually that's probably what breaks on that, if that rubber seal gets old and cracks. I did learn that from my dad when I used to watch him fix our stuff. That's probably what would be going on if anything. So I'm going to try to pull that off, but it looks good. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So if I were really thinking that was the problem, I would go to the store and get a little rubber gasket to fit on there. It looks like a tiny black hairband, and fit that, but otherwise it's not leaking at all. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back. Now I don't know which way it went. That's okay though. This way. Here, fits right in there. Puts the screw back in here, and I'm going to consider this another project successfully done with an easy outcome, even though now I'm really disappointed too that I couldn't technically fix it, how to. So this goes back on. There's a good chance I didn't put it together right, but we'll see soon. Okay, that just fits on there. The screw goes back in here, twists on. The man who put this in wasn't trying to prove anything, so it was actually able to get unscrewed pretty easily. And I'm going to do the next person the same favor, which is probably going to be me in a couple of weeks when my Easy Fix didn't actually work. Put this little cover back on. Again, super clever, who knew? That was for that, and I didn't even need to take these off, which overkill here. I'm going to stick those back in there. Tighten that up. And we're going to revisit this project in a few days to see if it's still not leaking. So that wraps up today's vlog. I think we learned some important things. I'm probably misquoting Occam's razor, but the simplest solution is usually the true one. I know it's more complicated than that, but that's what I think it means. Always double check that the kids are actually turning the knob off all the way. Can really save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in water. I just wanted to give a shout out to my daughter, who did indeed actually help me edit my first vlog video yesterday. They used to have kids to help on the farm, like you just had a bunch of kids to do the work and farm, and now we kind of lament those days, but we've really just figured out a new way that kids are helpful to us, and now it's to figure out how to navigate technology for us. So kids do come in very handy still, and that's why we've had 5. It must be the universe was like, hey, your career is definitely going to go into the technology, and you're going to need some help with that. I hate to say this, knock on wood, I don't know what other fix-it projects I have going on. I mean, I can think of a few. But I'm sure we'll figure out a new topic soon, and maybe the topic of the next vlog should be like, am I trying to make a new career, or am I maybe just that lonely that I'm starting to talk to myself and pretend audiences? So we'll explore that idea and possibility really soon. But thanks for tuning in.